Raider Nation, Carmen Bricillo is leaving the Las Vegas Raiders to be the offensive line coach of the New York Giants. I know some of y'all are probably freaking out because you think that this means that Antonio Pierce is leaving or Patrick Graham's leaving. There's a reason why the Raiders blocked Patrick Graham for interviewing for a DC job, but they didn't block it for Carmen Bricillo. Bricillo came over here with the New England Patriots. Bottom line is this. It's going to be a big loss. He's one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. But coming up here on the Raiders Report, we got a new GM candidate that just emerged. A lot of NFL news to talk about. Saban, Belichick. We'll get into the latest there. And even more and more Raiders news and updates coming up right now. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. It's Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports. And coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the Raiders news that simply you cannot miss. We're going to talk about a brand new Raiders general manager candidate that is out there. I'm also going to tell you the two candidates that the Silver and Black are going to be interviewing tomorrow on Friday. On top of that, though, let's get into a lot of NFL news because I don't know about y'all. Over the past 24 hours in the NFL college football world, it has been insane. And Raiders rumors are flying left and right. And I'm here to tell you whether what's true, what's not true. And then at the very, very end of today's show, I'm going to look at some of the news that happened on Wednesday that maybe some of y'all missed. I did make some videos on it on our Raiders Shorts, which if you guys haven't already, I'm putting out a lot more Raiders Shorts, so please don't be shy and go check those out. All right, so let's get into the big-time topics of discussion around the Las Vegas Raiders right now, which is the general manager search, right? And the Raiders are doing the right thing. Mark Davis is doing the smart thing by interviewing general manager candidates first, hiring a GM, and then you hire head coach. That's what good organizations do. So according to Tom Pelissero, the Raiders interviewed Broncos executive Kelly Kleine Van Calligan for their general manager job. So she is going to be interviewing with the Las Vegas Raiders. And I know some of y'all probably just went, wait, she? Yes, she. She is a very well-respected person right now with the Denver Broncos and been a really good right-hand, I almost said man, a very good right-handed person to being able to manage a lot of salary caps, has done a really solid job in terms of the drafting department. But if you're somebody that's always wondering salary cap or numbers, I ain't a numbers guy, but somebody that's done a really good job with their cap construction, it's one of the reasons why they're so confident they can move on from somebody like Russell Wilson and cut him. It's because of Kelly, and she has a lot of respect there in that room. So as it stands right now, here is the Raiders general manager tracker as of today that I am filming this video. Champ Kelly, he's going to get an interview, the interim general manager. Trey Brown, the senior personnel executive from the Cincinnati Bengals. Terrance Gray, director of player personnel from the Buffalo Bills. Ed Dodds, the assistant GM for the Indianapolis Colts. Adam Peters, assistant GM for the 49ers. Tom Telesco, former GM of the Los Angeles Chargers. And then Kelly Kleine Van Calligan, executive for the Denver Broncos. So here's the thing, man. Once the Raiders do name a general manager, I'm going to be going live. You don't go live for 26 straight hours when they fire their head coach if you don't plan on celebrating when they hire a GM. I'm telling you this right now, though. Depending on who they hire at GM is going to tell you a lot about what this organization is potentially thinking going forward. If they hire a guy like Ed Dodds, it's probably going to be Jim Harbaugh. If they go in a different direction, maybe they just bring back Champ Kelly, then they're probably going to go with Antonio Pierce. Bottom line is, I haven't been this excited for an offseason in a very, very long time. And when they finally name that GM, I feel like we're going to be going in the right direction. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be live partying on the Raiders Report. All right, so coming up here is some big football news that I think that you need to know. And the reason why it's important to know is I don't know if some of these coaches are going to impact the Las Vegas Raiders, but I've been doing the Raiders Report for long enough. I've been working at Chat Sports long enough. I've been covering the NFL for long enough to know this. When a big-time head coach, a name, a face that my mother would recognize, gets fired or leaves a team, every single person says, could this person coach the Las Vegas Raiders? The first name that we're going to talk about here is Pete Carroll. former head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. And this one was a little bit of a surprise. At 72 years old, he's obviously done a lot of great things out there in Seattle, did a lot of great things in the college football realm with USC. But Carroll is no longer the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, and he still says that he wants to be involved somehow. I've already seen people on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit say, could Pete Carroll come to the Las Vegas Raiders? No, it's not going to happen. If you want to know who's going to be the next head coach in Seattle, his name is Dan Quinn. Let's now go to another coach that stepped down here from Alabama, Nick Saban. And this one was a kind of a very, very big surprise, right? Saban informed the team that he's going to be retired from Alabama. Obviously, he's won 6 national championships with the Crimson Tide, has done a lot of just phenomenal things. Hell, he's had more players drafted in the first round. I believe that number is 44 than he has had losses. And he's going to go down as the greatest of all time. And I'm just going to tell you this right now. Sometimes people don't understand sarcasm on social media, which it is what it is. And I know some of y'all saw Jeremy's tweet at Jeremy Chug saying Nick Saban could potentially be coming to the Raiders, yet nobody saw all the tweets underneath where we were just obviously joking. Nick Saban's not coming to the Raiders, y'all. Saban's hanging him up. He's retiring also, I believe, at age 72. And then bright and early this morning, Bill Belichick out as head coach. I promise you this. If the clown was still head coach, and if Dave Ziegler was still the general manager, this rumor of Belichick potentially joining the Las Vegas Raiders would be a lot bigger than what it is. Now, I talked about earlier this week, and it was reported from Diana Rossini, and it was also reported by Ian Rappaport that Tom Brady, the Raiders, wanted to talk to Bill Belichick. But I'm just going to sit up here and tell you this. Bill's not coming to the Raiders. However, though, I do think it would be a bad decision, not for Mark Davis and not for Tom Brady, to not have a sit-down conversation with Bill Belichick. Not to bring him in to be anything here on this Raiders team, but, let's be real here, right? I understand that there's a lot of people out there I only want Antonio Pierce. I don't want Jim Harbaugh. I'll tell you this right now. I don't care who the next Raiders head coach is. If you told me right now it is John Doe and the Raiders win a Super Bowl, I'm all in. I only care about winning. Commitment to excellence, just win, baby. It would be malpractice if Mark Davis did not sit down with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the exact same room and say, hey, what were the most important things that you guys did to create the greatest dynasty that has ever existed in the NFL? I'm not saying that I want Bill on the team, but I do think it's very smart for Davis to sit down in the same room with Brady and Bill Belichick. And God, I hope that happens. Everybody should hope that happens. I don't care if he's a Patriot. I don't care what he has on his helmet. You know what those guys have done more than anybody? Win. And that's all I care about here on the Raiders Report. So as it stands right now, here are the NFL head coaching openings, and there's actually a lot more than I ever thought that there was going to be this offseason. What do you say? A fourth of the NFL. Look at Jeremy Mathin over here. But 8 head coach jobs are open. Raiders, Chargers, Panthers, Titans, Seahawks, Commanders, Falcons, Patriots. If you would have asked me at the very, very beginning of the season how many openings were there going to be, I probably would have said 4 or 5. The fact that Seattle decided to move on, and then you got the Patriots now, which I'm not totally surprised. That one was always up to Bill. There's a lot of moves, though. Even the Titans. I mean, Seattle, Titans, and the Patriots are all a little bit of a shocker to me. But coming up next here on the show is where the Raiders' job ranks. So I've seen CBS. I've seen USA Today. I have seen all of these publications put out their head coaching rankings. And I'm a Raider fan through and through, right? I got a tattle on my leg. Hey, I believe in it, silver and black till I die. And I know there's a lot of Raider fans out there that believe the same thing. And I know some of y'all are like, Raiders is the number one job out there. But I do think it's important for people to understand where other publications, people who aren't Raider fans, think of what the Raiders' job is ranked next to those 8 teams. Before I tell you what those rankings are, I got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Game Time. And a lot of times once Raiders football season is over, I kind of sit around with this up my you-know-what, wondering what the heck am I going to do next? But guess what? I have a little bit more free time once the Raider season's over, and I have a little bit more opportunities to go and do some fun things. And if anybody out there is just like me and you're looking to do more things this offseason, I want you to download the Game Time app because you're going to be able to get $20 off with code RaidersChat. And the more and more I explore this app, the more and more I find things that I'm like, dude, that seems like a hell of a date night with Alex. Or it seems like a really fun way to just maybe get away in Las Vegas for a weekend. If you want to go watch some awesome hockey, I'll tell you this right now. I'm not really a hockey fan when I watch it on TV. I love watching the Raiders. The next sport that I enjoy the most watching live, hockey. It is electric. And some of these ticket prices for the Vegas Golden Knights, one of the best hockey teams in the country, guess what? You can go get your ticket prices there. And also with Game Time, you can set it to whatever city that you want to be in. Another thing that I love on Game Time, events under $50. The holidays just ended. And maybe some of y'all aren't like Mask 80, Avgin, Zon, where they're just balling out, banging all the time. But for me personally, I look at events under $50, and I'll tell you this right now. If I had a child under age of 10 creating memories, you take a child to a UNLV game, you take them to a lacrosse game, that's an awesome memory. Another thing that they do is they have a whole tab that's slotted for the weekend. So if you're like, all right, I want to do something this weekend. I'm busy now, but I want to do something in the weekend. All right, I'm going to go to Las Vegas this weekend. Go to the Vegas tab on Game Time. Go to the Dallas tab on Game Time. Go to the New York tab on Game Time. Look up this weekend. You can find all of their events. And then if you're looking to splurge a little bit, right, this is more of birthday gifts, holiday presents. Valentine's Day is right around the corner. And hopefully Alex doesn't see this, but we're going to be taking a little bit of a trip in February, and I'm going to get something off the Game Time app because it's Valentine's Day. So $20 off with code RaidersChat. Download it today. Terms apply again. Create an account. Redeem code RaidersChat for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. All right, y'all, so coming up here, where the Raiders' job ranks compared to all the openings right now in the National Football League. So for me personally, I would rank the Raiders' job out of those 8 at number 4, okay? And I know some of you are like, Mitch, only number 4? Yeah, you don't have a franchise quarterback, and that's one of the biggest reasons. But the reason why I do put them at 4 is you're going to have some money at salary cap, you're going to have plenty of draft picks, and you do have the ability, if you wanted to find your franchise quarterback. On top of that, you do have some really solid core players there. However, this is what CBS ranks the head coach openings as it stands right now. Seahawks at 1, Commanders at 2, Chargers at 3, Falcons 4, Raiders 5, Patriots 6, Titans 7, and the Panthers are so far in last, and I mean so far in last, that it's not even funny. I can't wait to see who takes that Carolina job. I can't wait to see what the Panthers try to do because it's going to be a disaster. Chugs just said in my ear it's going to be a first-time head coach. I couldn't agree more. There's no way that somebody's going to take that Carolina Panthers job that has been a head coach before. And if they do, man, you better be really, really confident in yourself. All right, y'all, coming up next here on the show is what an NFL insider thinks the Raiders, or why the Raiders maybe don't go with Antonio Pierce. And I'll get into what they had to say. I'll get into my comments, my ideas around what this report was, because I think if you were to ask 100 Raider fans right now, 70% of those fans would probably say, we want Antonio Pierce back, which I get. AP is a Raider through and through, and that's what the nation's about, right? It's about repping for your friends. It's about repping for your family. It's about repping for the one and only nation. But this is what Albert Breer had to say on the Raiders' head coaching search. I think the Raiders take a swing at Harbaugh. And I think if they can't land a big fish like Vrabel, Harbaugh, or Belichick, then they probably stick with Antonio Pierce. Well, the name that I'm going to bring up here is Belichick. And I said this before, and I'll say it again. Bill Belichick ain't coming to the Las Vegas Raiders. I've seen the reports. I've seen what Diana Rossini has said. I have seen what Ian Rappaport has said. To me, it is literally just to have a conversation. And I'll say it again. Raider fans should want Mark Davis to sit down in a room with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick to talk about what were the little things that they did to make that franchise special. Danny Amendola, one of the Raiders coaches, spoke this week and said, "We worked for Bill, but we played for Tom." You need to be able to find a group of players that play for somebody. And right now, that group of players is sticking up for Antonio Pierce. So that's one of the reasons why I do think it would be smart to put them in the same room. If you were to ask me, Mitch, who do you think are the head coach rankings? Because I heard Vrabel. Vrabel's not coming to the Raiders either. He's going to be the next head coach of the New England Patriots. And then on top of that, the OC of the Patriots, I'm telling y'all right now, or he's going to be working there, is going to be McDaniels. And when the Patriots do decide to hire McDaniels, I will go live on this show. I'm telling you right now, I'll go live on this show laughing my ass off. But my head coaching rankings right now for the Silver and Black, if you were to ask me what I would do, number 1 is Antonio Pierce. Number 2 is Jim Harbaugh. Number 3 is Patrick Graham. That's how good Patrick Graham was last season. So here's my question to the nation. Let's get a little bit fun here. That's what the Raiders Report is all about. You can pick Antonio Pierce, AP. You want to roll with Jim Harbaugh, JH. You want to go with Patrick Graham, type PG. If there is another head coach that you believe deserves to be in charge of the Silver and Black, I want you to type O. You want to be an overachiever, though? I do want to know what that person is. I'm watching this live stream right now, and it is nothing but APs and JHs. My answer after this YouTube ad break. I love me some Antonio Pierce, but, let's get one thing straight here. What I'm about to say, I'm not trying to upset people. When I do this show, I am always an honest human being, and I think being honest is how you get far in life. And what you see down below is what I believe. If you can keep Antonio Pierce and Patrick Graham together, I will take that combination over Jim Harbaugh. However, if Patrick Graham goes somewhere else, maybe he gets a head coaching job. Maybe he goes and decides he wants to be a defensive coordinator somewhere else. I don't think he does that. I think he only leaves for a head coaching job. And it's Antonio Pierce or Jim Harbaugh without Patrick Graham. I'll take Jim Harbaugh. I'll take somebody that has proven that he can win every single place that he has been at. San Diego, Stanford, Michigan, the 49ers. I don't care what it is. I just want to win. So with me saying this, I like both Pierce and Harbaugh, and I would be okay with Patrick Graham even at head coach. If you told me today, fast forward, Mitch, one of the head coaches is going to be AP or Jim Harbaugh, I'm going to be as happy as you possibly can be. And I don't want people, and I've seen this on social media, people are like, we want Antonio Pierce because the Raiders are, smoking cigars, listening to the NWA in the freaking locker room, and then you got Harbaugh singing whatever song he was singing. He's a jolly good fellow. Well, guess what? I'll sing He's a Jolly Good Fellow if the Raiders win a Super Bowl. I'll smoke a cigar if the Raiders win a Super Bowl. Bottom line, all I care about is commitment to excellence. Just win, baby. And I think that's what's really important here for the Raiders. Let's keep going here, though, with Albert Breer on what he had to say about the Raiders' GM search this time. The Raiders loved Ed Dodds 2 years ago when they interviewed him for their GM job. And so he's a strong position going into his interview there. Regardless of what happens with the coach, but that he has the connection to Harbaugh doesn't hurt. I do think it's important to note that the Raiders are going to hire a GM before they hire a head coach. This is a good move, right? This is what smart organizations do. This is what good organizations do. But I promise you this right now. Ed Dodds is interviewing with the Las Vegas Raiders tomorrow on Friday. He's not the only one. The Bills' director of personnel also, he's going to be interviewing with the Raiders tomorrow on Friday. But I'll promise you this. If Ed Dodds is hired to be the general manager, y'all better prepare yourself because it's going to be Jim Harbaugh. Dodds and Harbaugh go way back. They worked together on this Raiders team back in 2003. They have a lot of ties together. And Harbaugh's going to want to bring in his own guy. If you were to ask me, Mitch, if Harbaugh's head coach, well, what happens to our DC? It's probably Minter. Minter's probably going to come in. Right now, he's working on the Michigan staff. He's probably going to come in here. He's going to be your defensive coordinator. So to me, if Ed Dodds is hired, it's going to be Jim Harbaugh. I just want you to understand that. Next thing coming up here on the show is just some news that happened yesterday. So my schedule here at Chat Sports, the way that it works is I go live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. All those 3 days, 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific. So if you ever want to tune in and hang out with Jeremy Chugs and I when we go live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 4 p.m. I also usually go live for Raiders games. But hey, Mitch, what are you going to do now that it's the offseason? Every single time the Chiefs play, I'm rooting against them. So we're going to be live on Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, Chiefs, Dolphins. I am going live 90 minutes before kickoff. We're going to talk Raiders. I'm going to have some segments for you guys. Talk probably about head coach, GM, all the updates, probably a lot of the updates that happened from Friday's meetings with the Raiders. And then we're going to get into this football game here. We're going to be rooting on Miami. I get it. I am a Raider guy through and through, but I will root for anybody. And I mean anybody that plays up against Kansas City. So if you want to join me, hit that subscribe button and turn on those noties. Also, it's the first time I'm telling you all this. I am going to give away a jersey signed by a current Raiders player that plays on defense. Not going to tell you who it was, but a Raiders player on defense, jersey giveaway, signed by him, JSA certified, during this game. So if you want to win it, you better tune in. So the news that happened yesterday, in case you missed it, and I really want to try to get you guys even more and more videos when maybe I don't have Chugs to produce a video or we don't have all of our graphic abilities because Wednesday's my day that I got to catch up on a lot of stuff. So what I've been trying to do is put out a lot of Raiders shorts here on YouTube. They're 60-second clips, quick, easy. They give you the information that you need. And the Raiders, they decline an NFL team to interview Patrick Graham for a DC opening. The Titans, they're going to interview Antonio Pierce to be head coach. And here's the thing. I know some people think that AP getting interviewed by the Titans is just the Rooney Rule. That's just foolish to me. Believe it or not, Antonio Pierce has earned the respect around the National Football League. And for anybody out there that thinks it's just a Rooney Rule interview, then I'm going to tell all of y'all that you shouldn't want Antonio Pierce to be your head coach. If you think it's just a Rooney Rule move, that's not your head coach. It's a move because people respect what Antonio Pierce did for the Las Vegas Raiders. But bottom line, and I've had this also asked to me, Mitch, can the Raiders decline Antonio Pierce for head coach? The way that the NFL works is this. You cannot decline an interview with a team if it's considered an upgrade, a job move up, right? So if Patrick Graham wants to interview for another DC job, the Raiders can decline that because he's already the defensive coordinator. If he wants to go look for a head coaching job, you can't decline that, nor should you. And that's why the Raiders, right now with Antonio Pierce, he's an interim. As an interim, moving up to head coach is an upgrade, right? So because of that, the Raiders were allowed to decline Patrick Graham. They were not allowed to decline Antonio Pierce, and you shouldn't decline Antonio Pierce the opportunity to go interview to be a head coach in the NFL.